If you've been thinking about moving to Kanata, you've probably seen some stuff online. Mature trees, average income, tech hub, which is all great information, but none of it feels relatable. This video is the stuff you're actually going to care about, what's going to make or break your decision about moving to Kanata or not. So let's start with why people relocating to Ottawa even think about Kanata in the first place. So yes, we have top-rated schools, which is what we're going to cover later on. But usually it's because they've looked at central Ottawa prices and then they open Kanata listings and realize, oh, I can actually afford a detached home with a driveway and a yard. Townhouses in Kanata are starting around the 600s right now. Detached homes typically begin in the mid to 800s and can go up to $1 million depending on the location and the upgrades. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, but for families coming from areas like Toronto, Vancouver, or even some parts of Montreal, this feels so much more reasonable for what you get. But price is only part of it. The bigger question is, what does it feel like to actually live here? Kanata feels structured, organized, and a little bit predictable, but in a good way. You'll see kids biking, you'll see people walking dogs at night, you'll see hockey rinks packed all weekend, and probably even some kids selling lemonade at the park. Now, if you're someone who likes nightlife and walking to restaurants every evening, this is not the place for you. Do not move to Kanata. But if your weekends revolve around sports schedules, birthday parties, Costco runs, and days at the park, this is exactly why people choose it. Now, here's something that most relocation videos skip over. Kanata is divided into pockets that feel completely different from one another. There are some older sections like Beaverbrook or Glen Cairn that were built in the 60s or 70s, but this is one of Kanata's oldest areas. So while there are larger lots there, you'll get some homes that need a little bit more updating and can have some very quirky layouts. It is, however, one of the more affordable areas of Kanata. A lot of these homes were actually designed with a garden-style layout, so you'll notice a ton of walking paths connecting parks and schools throughout those neighborhoods. Now, if you move towards Kanata Lakes, everything kind of changes a little bit. This is one of the most sought-out areas of Kanata because of the schools. So over here, you'll find larger detached homes. There are homes on golf course lots. You're closer to shopping. And this is one of the most sought-out areas in Kanata because of the school zone. So that is naturally going to drive the prices up much higher than any other area in Kanata. It is also very close to the Richcraft Recreation Center, which is one of the busiest recreation centers in the West End. And this might sound like a small thing, by the way, but this indoor leisure pool is warmer than most in the city, so it gets busy. Then you have areas like Emerald Meadows or Bridlewood. You'll see more townhouses here, newer developments, and it's very first-time buyer friendly. It does feel a little bit more dense than most areas, but it's still very, very family focused. So it's pretty diverse, and this is exactly why I tell clients relocating to Ottawa, don't just search Kanata, narrow it down. When people start seriously looking at Kanata, it's usually because the housing is attractive here. Bigger houses, quieter streets, space for kids, that part feels like a relief. And then almost right away, another thought follows. Okay, but how does this actually work day to day? Because once you picture the house, you start picturing the routine. Mornings, how school drop-off is going to work, getting to work, getting back to home. That's where the commute becomes part of the conversation. Late at night, Google Maps will tell you just under half an hour, and that's accurate at that time of day. But weekends and mornings are a different experience. March Road, Eagleson, and Terry Fox are the main ways in and out of Kanata, and they carry a lot of volume. Traffic moves. It's nothing like Toronto, but it still is slow. So what would have been a 30-minute commute is probably going to be an hour, maybe a little bit more. You'll learn which routes to avoid and which times matter. Another downside to Kanata is that our Canadian Tire Center is here. So this is where you'll have hockey games and concerts, and it can cause a lot of congestion in the area. So a lot of people have to plan around it because it comes part of how you think about your schedule. This is also why daily life in Kanata is very car-based. Most households have 2 vehicles, not because they necessarily want them, but because it's a necessity here. If you have one person going to work and another parent doing school drop-offs or activities, it's really difficult to get everything done if you're working outside of the city. Now, we of course do have public transit here, and some people do use it, but it's not what draws people to Kanata. There is a little bit of a reliability and convenience issue with our transit over here. It does need some work. There is, however, thankfully, an LRT extension being planned further west in the coming years, probably around 2030s, which should help. But today, driving is what most people rely on. Where all of this feels much easier is if your work is already in the West End, especially Kanata North, or if you work remotely. Now, in that case, your daily world tightens up, but in a good way. Schools, activities, shopping, work, it's all very close and very convenient. If you're commuting downtown every single weekday, that drive becomes part of your routine. It's doable still, and plenty of people still do it, but it's something you need to be comfortable with. It still works if it isn't. You just need to know what you're signing up for. Now let's talk about schools, because for a lot of families relocating, this is a deciding factor. Kanata has a reputation of strong schools, and that reputation didn't just appear out of nowhere. Take Earl of March, for example. It's known for its international program. It attracts students who are aiming for competitive university programs. That alone is a huge draw for a certain type of academic culture in the school. All Saints is another one people usually ask and talk about. It consistently performs well academically and has very strong extracurricular involvement. It's also one of the larger Catholic schools here in the West End. Kanata is also really well known for its French immersion programs and just overall performance. Parents that are relocating from outside of Ontario often want strong French programming because Ottawa is a bilingual city, and Kanata gives them that option. But here's what well-known really means in practical terms. It means that there are schools that have strong test scores, established programs, active parent communities, and high demand. And of course, high demand is going to lead to the next issue, capacity. So when I say a school is at capacity, I mean the number of enrolled students have reached or exceeded what the building was actually designed to hold. So that means there are portables now on the property. And it also means new families moving into the boundary may not even be guaranteed a spot in that exact school. Now, one of the biggest things families relocating ask me, even if they don't say it directly, is, are we going to be boarding Kanata? When you look at it on the map, it's west, it's suburban, it's not downtown. And that can feel like you're choosing quiet over fun. So let me paint you a realistic picture of what weekends actually look like here in Kanata. If you have kids, your Saturdays are going to fill up so quickly. You're at the rink early for hockey or soccer or basketball at one of the recreation centers. Richcraft and Walter Park are constantly busy with swimming lessons, leagues, birthday parties, drop-in skating. Essentially, if you have kids in sports, that's where you're going to be spending your weekends. After that, it's usually errands, and this is where Kanata feels really, really easy. You're not driving 25 minutes for basics. Costco is right there, groceries are right there, you have pharmacies, gyms, pet stores, box stores. It's all within such a short drive. Most families don't even have to leave Kanata just to get things done, unless you're looking for something really specific. If the weather's good, Beaver Pond and South March Highlands are packed with people walking, biking, just letting the kids burn the energy. In the fall especially, those trails are full. It's not isolated, it's active, but in a family way. Shopping wise, you have the Tanger outlets and Kanata Centrum. Tanger is outdoors, and yes, it's going to be cold in the winter, but I actually really love it. It really adds to the whole Christmas shopping vibe because it's snowing and it's really nice. It's decorated heavily around the holidays, and there's a playground area for the kids as well. Kanata Centrum has the movie theater and a mix of shops, restaurants, so a lot of families treat it as their go-to night out without having to drive downtown. Now, I'm going to be honest about the restaurants. You will find some solid options. Sushi, Hockey Sushi is one of our favorites. Pubs, pizza, casual spots where families go after sports. But this isn't a trendy food scene. If you love trying a new independent restaurant every weekend, you'll probably head towards Hintonburg or downtown sometimes. The difference really is here is that you're choosing to go downtown, not needing to go downtown. That's the key. Kanata isn't built around nightlife. It's built around routine, activities, convenience, and for some families, that feels calm and stable. But for others, especially if you're used to living in a dense urban area, it can feel far. But I wouldn't say it's boring. So what does it actually feel like to live in Kanata day to day? At night, it's usually pretty quiet. It's not, deadly silent, but it's calm. You're not hearing traffic from busy main streets. You're not hearing nightlife. You'll see porch lights on, maybe someone walking their dog, maybe kids riding their bikes a little bit in the summer. At night, it's quiet. I mean, it's not like you're living in the country, but you're not hearing the highway. You're not hearing a lot of traffic or sirens all the time. You'll see porch lights on, maybe someone walking their dog, kids riding their bikes all over the place, especially later on into the summer. Kanata consistently reports lower crime compared to more central parts of the city. So that doesn't mean that nothing ever happens, especially considering all the car theft that we've had lately. But generally, people feel comfortable here. Kids are safe to play outside. Neighbors know each other. There's a very, very strong sense of community. Now, here's the part that you need to be honest with yourself about. You will drive. You will be driving to groceries, you're driving to school, you're driving to activities. Even if something feels technically close, you need a car. Very few people in Kanata live where it's fully walkable. Your gym is nearby, your kids' school is nearby, your grocery store is nearby, and your friends start living nearby. You're not crossing the city very often unless you choose to. For some families, that feels efficient and contained. Your routine becomes so simple. However, for others, if you're not used to being in the middle of everything, it can feel like you're a little bit removed. But if your goal is space, quieter evenings, and a house where your kids can play in the backyard without a ton of outside noise, Kanata does that really well. Now, if your goal is stepping outside and having coffee shops, bars, events within walking distance, that's not what this area was built for. The biggest mistake I see people make when relocating to Ottawa is choosing Kanata because it sounds familiar, without understanding which part of it actually fills their daily routine. So if you are thinking about Kanata, ask yourself some of these questions. Where are you working? How often will you realistically need to go downtown? And how important is walkability to you? Are the schools the top driver? And you can also ask yourself, do you want older trees and larger lots, or newer builds and more of a modern layout? These answers will change where it is I would personally recommend that you decide to live in Ottawa. I've relocated myself. I know what it feels like to land somewhere new and realize later on that one detail would have changed your entire decision. So if you're narrowing down Kanata and you're not sure if it's right for you, send me a message. Tell me your budget, your school needs, and I'll tell you which section makes the most sense for you, not just your search filter.